Now let's look for a moment at the AP settings themselves, this individual AP settings. Here you can see we go to all APs, detail, centralization, high availability. None of that matters unless I have a failover priority set at a global level. Now here they have this nice little window here. This nice little window that says it's right here. In actuality, these are in very different places, right? I'm not very happy with the way they represented this. So let's go out into my environment and take a look. So here we are in my environment. You can see we're under wireless. And when we're under wireless, I want to click on global configuration. Right here on the left, follow my mouse now. You see the little finger. Global configuration. That's really where I want to be. I select global configuration, and now we can see I have a lot of options available to me. You can see here high availability is listed. We got our AP heartbeat timeout. We talked about that. AP primary discovery, we talked about that, right? That's that 30 to 3600, that wireless controller list that we're going. But what we're really looking for in AP failover is the AP failover priority. Okay, in order to set a priority for failover, meaning how important is this AP, how important is this AP that it fails over to another wireless LAN controller, we have to set it here. Okay, we have to enable this. Once this is enabled, that's when we can actually set those priorities that we're going to talk about in a second. So before we even mess with AP priority, I want you to know where the global config is. Again, wireless. And once you're there in the access points, we're at that global configuration. So for everybody connected to this wireless LAN controller, we are going to enable AP failover priority. Now, let's go back to the slides and let's dive into a little bit more to the meat of the subject. Okay, so we talked about this. We know where this is, right? We know where that is in configuration. Let's talk about the individual AP settings. Now, I'm going to talk about this first down here because this it marries to this, right? These two go together like peas and carrots, like Forrest Gump would say. So the AP failover priority doesn't do anything unless we've enabled it here. It doesn't do a darn thing. You're just playing with a menu at that point. Once we do enable this, like you saw us do, now we can enable the failover priority. Now, a priority level of 1 is low. Okay, this is out of the box. Everybody gets a 1. This is a medium is a 2, high is a 3, and critical is a 4. This means if a wireless LAN controller has to make a decision because it's full, its license value is full, that it has, or let's say the license value has 2 spots left, and a wireless LAN controller in our environment fails, and they're all vying for those 3 spots left. If I have 2 that are at critical, 2 APs that are set at 4, they will get those spots. If I have one that's set at 2, which is a medium, that will get the spot. All the other APs, which by default would be at 1, would not get the spot on the wireless LAN controller, and those APs would actually be starved out in that case. If there's no other wireless LAN controllers, that's when we get into all the trouble of clients actually losing connectivity. So in your environment, if you have areas where APs are servicing critical, mission critical environments, you definitely want to rate them with the AP failover priority. Now, let's talk about the high availability for controllers. So who are we going to fail over to? First, we have the primary controller. Primary controller is who we're using, right? Here's the name of that controller, management IP address for that controller. So we have it listed. Next up, we have listed the secondary controllers. And then last, the third. So this is how the failover happens. The AP failover to a wireless LAN controller starts obviously at the statically assigned primary controller. Then it goes to the secondary controller if that one's unreachable. If the secondary controller is also unreachable, we will go to the tertiary controller. Now, if that tertiary controller is also unreachable, that's when we go to that dynamic CAPWAP process that we talked about. Can anyone remember what is the dynamic CAPWAP process? That was percentage of load. Okay? Remember, we have a percentage of licenses that are being used by our wireless LAN controller. The AP will pick the wireless LAN controller with the lowest percentage of usage. Okay? So that percentage is based on the licenses available and the licenses used. We are going to pick the one with the best percentage. Now, how does this statically assigned by the wireless LAN controller work? It starts with the actual primary backup controller and then the secondary. That's it. So that, in a nutshell, is how this process works for the AP as well as the wireless LAN controller.